So this is how you encode the 836 FTL v2. When you download the calculator, you're going to have a bunch of these Python files in the calculator.zip. So to run them, you right-click in the folder, and then open a new terminal window there. And then you want to make sure you have Python installed on your computer. So just install that however it's done for your operating system. And then you also need to install the Python packages numpy and tk. So to do that, you type python 3-m pip install numpy tk. Now I've already got them installed on my computer, so it didn't really do anything, but it should install those two packages for you. And then to run the calculator, you do python 3 main.py. And make sure main is capitalized, because that's how the file is named. And now we can see the calculator has opened. Oh. So first we've got the Perl X and Perl Z fields to fill out. And you can find that by getting the looking at block or targeted block in the F3 menu for this block right here underneath the lever. So we can see I'm looking at 8.8, which is already put in here by default for the world download. And then you want to add 0.51 to both of the X and Z coordinates, so we can see it's 8.51. If the coordinates are negative, then if you add 0.51, it's going to be like 0.49. So if you add 0.51 to negative 24, then you're going to get negative 23.49. So just make sure that's correct. And then we've also got the destination X and Z. That's where you're trying to go. So for this demonstration, I'm going to go to 5,000, negative 3,000. And then over here, we can set a restriction so that if there's a maximum amount of TNT you want to use, you can set that, or the maximum time it takes the Perl to get there. And then you just press calculate to get a list of options for different encodings for the cannon. So this first one probably has too much TNT for this demonstration, so I'm going to actually limit the amount of TNT to 1,000. And now we can see we've got some options that are a little farther away and take longer to get there, but they use a whole lot less TNT. So I'm just going to pick this one right here. Now you just want to click on it. Click on the option that you want to use. And then you can go over to Perl Simulate to see where the Perl will tick during the travel time, if you want to look at that. It also gives you the starting motion of the Perl. But we're more interested in the TNT encoding section, which gives us the binary output that we want to put in the ROM behind the panel. So I'm going to encode it in this lamp right here. So I'm just going to put a sign there so I know where this lamp goes to. And then I'm going to select it. And then this ROM back here, it has 4 layers. The 4 layers correspond to the 4 layers in the panel. So we can see the top layer right here corresponds to the top layer in the ROM back here. And then there's 9 columns in the panel. And then each column of the panel corresponds to the column directly behind it in the ROM. So we've got the second layer and the first column is what we're trying to encode. So I'm going to go to the second layer in the ROM, which is right here, and then it's the first column, so it's this one right here. And then we're just going to copy the binary values from the output of the calculator into the ROM. So we can see purple is 100. If there's a 1, then you want to place an observer there. And then if it's a 0, you just leave it blank. So purple 100, blue is 00, cyan is 1001. Light blue is 000, lime is 100111. Now this one right here, we can't just place an observer right there. This is actually a special case in this ROM specifically. So what we need to do is take a note block, put that on top of the target block so the observer can detect something, and then put the observer on top. And then we're actually going to connect this one to this repeater with dust. On this one, it's just another dust that it connects to on the top layer of the ROM, but the rest of them it connects to a repeater. And then we're going to continue. Yellow is 1001. Orange is all zeros, red is all 0. Pink is 1100, and then that's all for now. And then we want to get rails, and then connect these observers to the inputs on the side right here with rails. And then now we have the encoding put in the cannon. Next, what we need to do is we need to place a block for the Perl to stop at. So it gives you a coordinate right here that we want to place the block at. So I'm just going to go to that coordinate. And then I'm going to use a command to set block, a block at that coordinate. So the Perl will actually hit this block. And then I'm going to kill myself and go back. So now that's the encoding for this destination done. So all we need to do is make sure it's selected. And then we can go over here and throw a Perl. Now we can see my coordinates are very close to the 5,000, negative 3,000. So the cannon has taken me to the right spot. Another thing you should probably do is place a block for the player to land on, because the player and the Perl aren't going to land in exactly the same spot. So I'm going to set block another white concrete at the coordinates that I'm at right now. And then the Y value is going to be 255. So then you can see that placed a block right above me. Now if I go back to the cannon and do it again. Now we can see I've landed on the white concrete. Another thing I'm going to mention is if you're playing in a version between 1.21.2 and 1.21.5, and you're using an encoding that has a lot of TNT, like a couple thousand TNT, then the lag spike from the TNT could cause the Perl to fail to load the chunk, because after a lag spike, the game will then speed up a little bit to try to catch back up to where it should be. But during that time the game is speeding up, it could cause the chunk loading ticket for the Perl to expire before it's finished loading all the chunks, and that will cause the Perl to unload. So probably the most vanilla way you could get around that in those versions is to have a lag machine that brings the server just barely to 50 MSPT so that the game can't speed up. Or that's not a problem at all if you're playing in a version 1.21.6 or higher. So another option is to pre-generate all the chunks in the Perl's path. But if you do that, then that's going to increase your file size by more. So, yep, that's it.